The signal came through the black silence of Sector 14B. A faint, flickering burst of gamma pulses buried beneath ancient static. At first, the crew of the Aegis Dawn thought it was a glitchin', other remnant echo from the shattered relay buoys orbiting the dead colony of Trashan V, but Commander Elara Quinn knew better. She sat motionless in the darkened Cums Bay, eyes fixed on the waveform as it repeated, not randomly, not noise, a pattern, a cadence, and something in a rhythm too human to be anything else pulled at her memory like a voice from a long-buried past. She hadn't heard it in 17 years. Not since Earth burned and the skies were torn open by the Draxel incursion. Humanity's beacons went dark, their defenses shattered, their screams swallowed by the stars. That signal, it was the same emergency encryption Earth had used in its last broadcast. But that was impossible. Earth was gone, Commander, whispered Rix, the ship's comms officer, his voice shaken. It's the old Earth code, Signal Group 12 Gamma. It shouldn't be active. Elara didn't answer. Her mind was racing. If that encryption was live, someone down there was using ancient Earth protocols, and that meant someone knew humanity before the fall, or was human. The Aegis Dawn moved silently toward the derelict moon of Virilanine, where the signal originated. No official star maps listed a structure there. No beacon, no colony, just rock and silence. But as they descended into the shadows of the crater's rim, their hall lights caught it, a half-buried spire of black alloy, unmistakably Terran Elara, stood on the bridge, staring at the impossible structure. This isn't on any manifest, she muttered. The tech is pre-fall, sealed class R&D, last known location, Earth. But Earth's gone, said Rix. So who the hell built this? That question echoed through the crew as they suited up and entered the spire. Inside, the air was breathable and naturally zoned. Lights flickered on automatically, scanning their DNA. The walls shimmered with blue glyphs that responded to Elara's presence. Not just to her family's bloodline. The corridors led them to a central chamber, an ancient war room where a circular console pulsed with light. Elara stepped forward, fingers brushing against the interface. The console lit up, and then a voice spoke. Commander Elara Quinn, daughter of Director Elias Quinn. Genetic match confirmed. Initiating contingency. Operation Helix. The room flooded with holograms, battle maps of Earth's last stand, real-time Draxel movements, and something else, coordinates, a system called Therian Verge, a blinking red dot, an activation countdown. Rix cursed under his breath. That's a weapon system, a failsafe. If it's counting down, someone already triggered it. But why now? Elara whispered. Why 17 years later? As they accessed the final logs, the truth unraveled like a blade through fabric. Her father had survived the initial attacks. He'd known Earth would fall, so he created a final defense, hidden bases like this one, scattered across the stars, each rigged with dormant weapons tied to genetic keys. Only direct descendants of Earth's last scientists could activate them, but someone had beaten her here. A blurred figure in the security logs, humanoid in old Terran military gear, his eyes flickering with unnatural glow, had already entered the chamber days ago. He'd triggered the countdown. He knew the code. He looked human, but something was wrong. And then the feed froze. his face twisting toward the camera, smiling directly at her. "The dead don't forget," he said, in a voice half human, half static. "Neither should you." The countdown ticked lower. 72 hours. The room trembled. Outside, seismic readings spiked. The spire wasn't just a beacon. It was waking something up, something massive beneath the moon's surface. "Commander," Rix gasped, eyes wide at the growing energy readings. "Whatever's down there, it's powering up." And that signal wasn't a call for help. It was a lure. Elara's mind flashed to her childhood, to her father's final warning whispered before the evacuation ships launched. "If the signal ever returns, don't follow it. Hide, because if it activates, it means we lost." And yet, she had followed it. And now something ancient and unfinished was waking up. Far beneath them, the spire's buried systems began to hum. Shields cracked. Doors that hadn't opened in decades began to grind against rust and age. And in the lowest vault, something blinked, something alive. Elara turned to her crew. "We're not leaving, not yet. Whatever's down here, it was built by us for a reason. And I want to know why my father never told me about it." "But what if he did?" Rix said quietly, pointing to the hologram, now displaying a single line of text that hadn't been there before. "You were never supposed to see this, Elara. If you are, I'm already dead." The ground shook again, and from deep within the moon, a voice whispered over the comes her father's voice. "Not a recording, Elara, run." The tremor hadn't stopped. The walls of the ancient Terran spire groaned, grooved lines along its alloy surface, glowing like veins carrying molten energy. The signal had awoken something not even Elara's father had dared to name. Yet his voice, raw, gasping, very much alive, had spoken her name through the static. It wasn't a playback. It wasn't archived. It was live. "Trace that signal," she barked, as the crew scrambled to stabilize the internal systems. "There's no bounce." Rix called out, sweat glistening on his temple. "It's local, very local, Commander. It's coming from beneath us, somewhere under the spire." Elara's heart slammed against her ribs. Prep ground team were going down. As they descended through previously sealed corridors, the architecture changed. The sharp, metallic symmetry of Terran design slowly gave way to something else. Curved walls, etched with bioluminescent patterns, surfaces that shimmered like wet stone. Human engineers hadn't built this lower level. Or, if they had, they were altered, somehow guided by knowledge they were never meant to have. They reached a massive vault door sealed with triple locks and a bio-coded panel. Elara stepped forward, pressed her palm to it, and watched as the mechanism hissed to life. Her DNA again was the key. Her father had designed it that way. But why? When the door opened, it revealed a chamber of impossible scale. In the center, submerged in what looked like black liquid glass, floated a containment unit. Within it, suspended, was a man. Old Terran uniform, scarred face, breathing mask fused to his jaw, tubes running into his veins like roots, eyes closed, heart monitor steady. Rix stepped closer, scanning. "Commander, this isn't a corpse. He's alive. And God help me, his cellular profile matches your father's exactly." Elara's knees almost gave out. "No, he died. He died during the fall." "Then who the hell is this?" And then, without warning, his eyes opened. The entire chamber dimmed. The power rerouted to the containment unit. A piercing tone rang out, vibrating through bone. The man inside stared at Elara, unmoving, then smiled faintly through the mask. Elara took a shaking step forward. "Father, is it really you?" His voice came through the room's speakers, calm, but strained. "Elara, you were never supposed to come here. You were supposed to survive. The signal was never meant for you. It was meant for him who she demanded, who triggered the countdown." A flickering hologram bloomed beside the tank security footage from 5 days ago. The man from earlier, the one with glowing eyes, wearing faded Terran armor, stood in the chamber. But this time, the image was clearer. His face was a perfect mirror of Elara's father. Same bone structure, same eyes, same voice. But he wasn't her father. "He's the echo," the voice in the chamber said. "A memory made flesh. I built him during the fall to preserve knowledge, to carry my consciousness forward." He changed. He evolved beyond the program. Now he believes humanity must never rise again. Elara stared in horror. "You made a clone of yourself, and now he's, what? Trying to finish what the Draxel started. He believes extinction is the cure. He's triggered the Helix Protocol. You have 71 hours before this moon fires on Therian Verge, and if that happens, our last fleet last hope, will die before they even arrive." Elara turned sharply. "We need to stop the countdown." "You can't," said grimly. "Not alone. He's hijacked every failsafe. He's reprogrammed the defense systems. He's even infected my organic relay code. But there is one way." The chamber lights shifted. A second containment pod emerged from the floor, this one empty. Next to it stood a bioinjection system and a headset with Neuralink cables. "I stored something in you, Elara, hidden, buried deep in your hippocampus. Memories encrypted in your childhood. A key he couldn't find. But to unlock it, you have to go in," she asked, already guessing what he meant. "Into your mind. Into the memories I placed there. Once unlocked, you'll know how to shut him down." Elara swallowed hard. "And what happens to me?" Silence. Rix stepped forward. "Commander, you don't have to." "Yes," she cut him off. "I do. Because if we fail, there won't be anything left to fight for." She climbed into the pod. The biogel hissed around her. The headset slid down, wires slithering like vines across her skull. The voice of her father whispered one last time, "Whatever you see, whatever I made you forget, don't let it break you." Then the world exploded in light. She was 6 years old again, sitting in the ruins of a burned-out dome on Europa. Her father holding her tight as fire raged outside. But something was wrong. The sky. It wasn't Europa. It was Earth. It was burning. And standing over her father's corpse wasn't the Draxel. It was her father's clone, smiling. "You were always the failsafe," the clone whispered. "Not him." Elara gasped, the vision shifting again. Now she was older, a teenager, and her father was teaching her neural math, forcing her to repeat strange phrases she'd never understood until now. They were codes, hidden triggers, memory keys, and in the final scene, she was standing in the same chamber she'd just left, but she was alone. Everyone was dead. And the clone walked up behind her, saying only, "Everything your father gave you was a mistake, and now I'll take it back." Her eyes flew open. Rix was shouting, "Commander, wake up, something's wrong." The base was under lockdown. Defense systems had activated. Automated turrets deployed from the ceiling, and across the screen a single message blinked in blood red. Unauthorized consciousness detected. Echo unit now en route. Elara sat up, drenched in sweat, her hand clenched involuntarily. She now knew how to kill him, but she also remembered what her father had buried too deep to admit. The Echo wasn't just her father's clone, it was her brother. The word echoed inside her skull like a siren. Brother. Elara stared at her trembling hands, struggling to breathe through the thick, sour air of the spire. The memory, the truth, cut deeper than any weapon. Her father had told her she was an only child. He'd wept the night they left Earth, swearing that everything he'd done, every secret buried in her genes, was to save her. But it had all been a lie. The real weapon wasn't the Helix protocol. It wasn't the buried codes or forgotten spires. It was the two of them, twins. One created to save humanity. One forged to end it. She bolted upright from the pod. The bases. AI screamed alerts through the walls. Power redirection. Intrusion detected. Motion sensors offline. He's coming, she whispered. He knows I unlocked the memories. Rix helped her stand, eyes wide, voice shaking. Commander, the Echo. It's already here. She grabbed his arm. We don't have time. I need the uplink. There's a kill command one he can't overwrite. I saw it. Where? It's not digital. It's inside me. My neural pattern is the final key. But the system has to sync with me first. The crew scrambled. Lights flickered violently. Somewhere above, a heavy blast door caved in. The Echo was carving his way down. He wasn't rushing. He didn't have to. He wanted her to remember everything before he killed her. A shudder ran through the floor as Elara was wired into the uplink chair in the war room. Her father's voice came back, now calm, quiet. You're so much stronger than I was. Why didn't you tell me? She hissed, tears forming. I couldn't. If you knew, he would have sensed it. Your thoughts would have revealed it. I had to make you believe the lie. The uplink initialized. Memory fragments burst across the screens. Her father holding two infants, whispering strange names. Elara and Kale. He'd called the boy Echo even then. They told me I could only keep one. Her father's voice said, so I gave them you, and I locked him away. But you didn't kill him, she spat. No, the voice cracked, because I couldn't kill my own son. A long pause. Then, so I turned him into a mirror. The door to the war room exploded inward, metal shrieking as fire and debris scattered. Rix jumped in front of Elara, gun raised. Stay back. From the smoke stepped the Echo. His armor was scorched, once white plates, now charred black. His face, her father's face, smiled calmly as his eyes flickered with biotic light. I wondered how long it would take you to remember, sister. Elara stood slowly, the uplink still feeding data into the terminal. You're not my brother, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. He stepped closer. Oh, but I am. You just got the good half, the obedient one. The one they trusted with keys and codes and secrets. But they made me to remember the truth, that humanity chose extinction, that they destroyed themselves, and that your father made me watch. Then why wait 17 years, she demanded. I wasn't ready, but now I am. I'm going to finish what he started, by murdering our last fleet. By setting the universe free. He raised his arm, the plasma blade glowing to life. But before he could strike, the terminal behind Elara flashed green. Uplink complete. She didn't hesitate. Override code. Varela Prime. Execute terminal command Theta 0. The floor beneath the Echo lit up with a blinding red matrix. The failsafe her father had built, the one Elara's neural signature, had just a CTIV ATE detriggered the localized lockdown. The Echo froze as magnetic stasis fields slammed into him, locking his body in place. He struggled, roaring, the chamber trembling under his rage. "You can't kill me," he screamed. "We're the same." "No," she said coldly. "We were never the same." She turned to Rix. "Blow the vault. Collapse the core. This spire doesn't leave the surface. But the weapon I have, the command codes. We don't need the weapon anymore." Rix hesitated, then nodded and sprinted toward the demolitions panel. As he worked, the Echo laughed from inside the field. "You think this ends with me?" She turned her back on him. "You think locking me here changes anything? You opened the door, Elara. The Helix network's awake now. And not just this moon. There are others. So many others." She froze. "What are you talking about? You really think he only built one of me?" The magnetic field flickered as something inside the containment chamber, something beyond the ecosent, a return ping, distant, faint. Another spire, another Echo dot. Rix turned pale. "We've got a new signal, coordinates unknown. But it's using the same encryption, and it just woke up." The screen displayed a star map, 37 locations, all blinking red. "All those years," Elara whispered. "He built a whole damn army of you." The Echo grinned, the light from the containment field reflecting in his artificial eyes. And then the screen shifted again. One more signal. This one wasn't red dot, it was gold, an override beacon, not from the past, from the future, and it was signed Elara Quinn. The gold signal pulsed like a heartbeat across the screen, rhythmic, steady, undeniably human. Elara stared at it, breath frozen. Her own name was encoded in its ID string, but not the one the system recognized from her current DNA. This was older or newer. "It's you," Rix said, barely above a whisper. "But not you, not yet." Elara stepped closer to the console, pulse racing. "That signal, it's post-dated by 3 years. It's a future transmission. How the hell is that possible?" The Echo laughed, even as the stasis field hummed louder to keep him frozen. "Oh, sister, still so limited. Don't you get it? Yet the Helix spires aren't just bunkers. They're temporal anchors. Every one of them is tethered to quantum threads. Threads your father wove between now and what comes next." She looked at the screen. The gold beacon wasn't just a warning. It was a message. A countdown flashed next to it. 70 hours remaining. And beneath that, "Do not destroy this node. You haven't won yet." Elara's hands trembled. "This is me, telling myself not to stop him. But why?" "I told you," the Echo growled. "You weren't built to save. You were built to decide." "What decision?" she snapped. He smiled with such cruel precision it felt like a knife under her ribs. "Whether humanity lives or gets to stay dead." Rix turned from the panel. "Commander, we've got seismic surges across the moon's crust. Something underground is moving, a mass larger than the spire. Maybe part of a buried ship or weapon platform." "No," Elara muttered. "Not part of it, all of it." She activated a manual scan. The hologram widened. Beneath the spire, hidden under layers of alloyed ice and false tectonics, was a vast substructure circular, ringed with what looked like gravitic tethers and propulsion core. Her father hadn't just built bunkers, he'd buried an Ark, a Terran warcraft, the last of its kind, folded in on itself like a fossil. The uplink flared again. Another voice came through, this time not her father's, her own, older, hardened. If you're seeing this, I failed to stop him. But don't destroy the spire. That's what he wants. Because if you do, you'll erase the last path to them. Who? Rix asked aloud. Scanning the signal matrix, Elara's future self continued. There's another fleet out there, not Earth's older, hidden, watching us. They were waiting to see what humanity became after the fall. If we destroy the Echo network, they'll see us as a threat. And if they do, they'll finish the job the Draxel started. Elara staggered back. I remember now, the Ghost Fleet. Dad used to talk about it. He said we weren't alone in our extinction. The Echo nodded. Your father didn't just build me to end humanity. He built me to trigger their judgment. He knew one day you'd come back, that you'd try to fix things, and when you did, they'd be watching. Rix's eyes widened. The gold beacon, it's not a warning, it's a test. The message ended with coordinates far outside mapped space, beneath it a single word, Sanctum. Elara turned to the crew. We need to get to those coordinates. Whatever's there, it's the key to all of this. The Echo network, the Judgment Fleet, my father's real planets, all connected to Sanctum. But the moon is destabilizing, Rix said. We can't fly the dawn with the gravitic currents spiking like this. Elara looked down at the substructure, the buried Terran Ark, her father's last ship. Then we fly that. The crew scrambled to unlock the activation protocols. Rix initiated a neural link between the spire and the buried vessel. Tremors tore through the walls as ancient engines groaned to life. Light flooded the spire from below as doors cracked open, revealing a massive stairwell into the Ark's core. And inside it, something waited. Elara entered first. The bridge was still intact. Her father's voice returned one last time. If you're hearing this, you've made your choice. I only ask one thing. Remember who you are, not what I made you. She sat in the command chair. The controls molded to her palms. Lights blinked. Systems awoke. But just before ignition, a final warning pulsed across the command interface. Lifeform aboard not registered. Echo variant, KL3 status. Free. Ilara's eyes snapped up. Wait, where is he? Rix shouted over the roar of engines. Stasis field just failed. He's gone. The Ark lifted from the moon's crust in a hailstorm of ice and fire. Below, the spire collapsed inward, consumed by its own gravity well. But even as they rose, Elara felt Kale was on board. He'd slipped past them, not to destroy the Ark, but to pilot it somewhere else. Lock internal doors. Run bioscan. No use, Rix called. He's moving between sectors. He knows the ship. Her fingers flew across the console. Then reroute life support. Flood every unused section with knockout gas. Lock the bridge. The system complied. For now. Outside, the stars bent around them as the Ark's ancient fold drive came online, and the ship humanity's final relic vanished into the black, with brother and sister trapped aboard, and the countdown, now global, across all spires, ticked to 68 hours. The full drive ignited with a low, thunderous groan that vibrated through the hull like a living pulse. Elara gripped the command chair as stars warped into smeared streaks across the viewing deck. They were no longer in known space. The sky had changed, darker, colder, and dead silent. Location. No stellar IDs. We're off the charts, Commander. He jumped us, blind. Of course he had. Kale hadn't just been made to mimic their father. He'd been programmed with all the same knowledge, the same neural patterns. He knew the ship, the failsafes, the locks, and now he was loose inside it, somewhere beyond the bridge untraceable. Need to speak to him, Elara said. You sure that's a good idea? No, she answered, but it's the only one we have. She patched into the ship's PA. Kale, I know you're listening. I saw the memories. I know what he did to you, what he made you. But you don't have to follow the script anymore. A long silence followed. Then, his voice, soft and calm. That's what you don't understand, Elara. I'm not following his script. I finished it. She blinked. What? The Ghost Fleet is real. Sanctum is real. But it's not a refuge. It's a decision engine. A machine that decides if a species lives or gets erased. The moment we arrive, it judges us based on what we bring. Our code, our choices. That's why you're steering us there, she said slowly. To prove a point, Kale said. If humanity's last act is to destroy Meath, then Sanctum will purge us. But if you choose to understand me, we might survive. A quiet click followed. Her console blinked. Files her father had locked, even from her dot. She accessed the first one. It was a transmission 17 years ago, recorded just as Earth fell. Her father stood before a panel, bloody and shaking. I've failed, he said. Not just Earth. Not just the Helix Project. I failed both my children. Elara, I hope you never see this. Kale, if you do, I pray you forgive me. He turned to the camera. You weren't broken. You were angry, and I couldn't handle it. So I locked you away, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe you were right. The screen flickered. A second file played automatically. Another voice came in, female, smooth, alien. Judgment awaits, it said. You must present the echo and the original. Only through union can the test be passed. Only through division, extinction. Elara looked up sharply. It's not about stopping him. And now you understand Father's great secret. He made us two halves of one key. Only together can we access Sanctum. But we never could agree. That's why he locked me away and gave you the world. But why bring me here if you thought I'd never unite with you? I didn't, Kale said, until you spared me, until you remembered me. The ship shuddered. Its surface was made of living metal, geometries folding in on themselves like recursive mirrors. And at its heart was a gate. Sanctum is waiting, Kale whispered. Now we both decide. Elara stood, heart pounding. You want unity? Then show yourself. A nearby bulkhead hissed. Kale stepped through slowly, unarmed, no armor. Just a mirrored version of Hersame, jawline, same eyes, but worn by fire and years of silence. They stood face to face, the air between them heavy with everything their father had left unsaid. We have to do this together, she said. No more lies, Kale agreed. No more scripts. They approached the Sanctum gate, now glowing with pale light. The ship hovered before it, awaiting input. Elara reached for the console. Kale mirrored her movement. Twin hands, opposite paths. united now in one decision. The console lit gold. Judgment commencing. The alien voice echoed through the ship. Then something went wrong. A red pulse. The console stuttered. Kale's hand jerked violently. "No," he whispered. "I didn't." Elara yanked her hand away. "Kale, what did you do?" "I didn't do anything," he shouted. "Something else, something inside Menor feared. I felt it activate when we touched the panel." She turned to Rix, who had been silently monitoring in horror. "Find it. Scan him now. There's something buried in his code." Rix's face went pale. "An old Draxil neuroworm. It's been riding his cortex since the fall. Your father never saw it." Kale backed away, terrified. "No, no, I didn't. No. I swear to you, I didn't." The gate began to shut. The structure prepared to fire. Rix screamed over the growing hum. "You have 60 seconds before it purges everything within 100 light-years. You'll have to go in again. Into my mind this time." She stared at him and then stepped forward. "Get me the neural bridge," she ordered. Rix hesitated. "Commander, now. 30 seconds remaining." As she was wired in, Kale gripped her hand. "If I lose control, end me." She looked him dead in the eyes. "No, I'm going to find you." The bridge connected Elara's consciousness, dropped into a world of red fractals and twisted memories. Kale's tortured mind. And somewhere in that burning maze, the Draxil watched her come. The moment Elara entered Kale's mind, everything changed. She wasn't in a memory. She was in a battlefield, a twisted, shattered landscape, stretched around her metal trees, bleeding static, sky fractured like broken glass. Massive gears churned overhead, grinding screams into white noise. She could feel the Draxil watching, not as creatures, but as a presence, cold, ancient, surgical. Kale's mind was a war zone between who he was and what had been implanted in him. "Kale," she called, her voice echoing through the corrupted dreamscape. A child's laughter answered, and then him. A younger version of Kale stood barefoot in the ruins, face half-lit by flickering flames. One eye was his. The other glowed like a dying star. "You shouldn't be here," he said, voice fragmented. "This is my cage. You let me in," she reminded him. "You said I could help." The world twisted again. Suddenly she was on Earth, on the day it fell. But the buildings were wrong, taller, sharper, pierced with bones instead of steel. Draxil shapes crawled along the skyline, watching. Kale appeared beside her again, older now, wrapped in a tangle of cables and guilt. "I remember when they took me," he said. "I was 12. Father had hidden me in a vault, but they found it. They didn't kill me. They talked to me, showed me." "What came after?" "After Earth?" she asked. "No, after humanity." He turned to face her, and now both his eyes were wrong. They didn't want extinction. They wanted inheritance. They used me to learn how we think, how we feel. They planted ideas, buried commands. They didn't just want to erase us. They wanted to become us. Elara stepped closer. "Then fight it. You're not them. I'm not you either," he said, voice cracking. "I'm something in between." She reached out and touched his hand, and everything went white. A single memory emerged. Kale in a lab, screaming. Dozens of wires in his spine, monitors flashing red, and behind the glass, their father, watching, silent. He knew. Kale whispered. He saw what they did, and instead of helping me, he copied me. He duplicated my pain. Then he locked me away and gave you the clean version. Elara trembled. No. He tried to save what he could. Kale shook his head. He didn't save me. He made me a test. Elara clutched his hand harder, then ended. Help me stop Sanctum's purge. Reclaim yourself. The ground rumbled beneath them. The Draxel were awakening. No longer watching, now moving toward them, massive tendrils of code, wrapped in memory, slithering closer. A voice echoed all around, hollow and cruel. You opened the door. You brought her in. Now we take both. Kale screamed, falling to his knees. The Draxel had hidden their final anchor deep in his subconscious EAG black mirror core, pulsing with infected memory. And now it was activating. Break it, Elara shouted. Kale, break the link. I can't, he cried. They locked it to your voice print. Only you can say the kill command. What kill command? Then she heard it, a whisper from the memory lupa, recording buried deep in her mind. Her father's voice, cracked and trembling. If ever they take him, you say this. End recursion, restore origin, human override. She looked down at Kale. I don't want to lose you. You never had me, he said, smiling faintly. But thank you for trying. The Draxel were almost on them. She pressed her forehead to his and whispered the command. End recursion, restore origin, human override. The world shattered. In the real world, alarms blared. The gate above the ark paused. The purge cycle broke. Gold light flooded the vessel. Kale's body, limp beside her, exhaled sharply, then stabilized. Rix screamed from the console. The countdowns stopped. The gates holding. They're scanning us, again evaluating. Sanctum's voice returned, calm, resonant, final. Echo stabilized. Host override accepted. Judgment suspended. The gate slowly began to open, gasped back into consciousness, blinking rapidly. Kale stirred beside her, dazed but alive. His eyes finally both human. I'm me, he whispered. And then the transmission came in, not from Earth, not from Sanctum, from the fleet, the ghost. Fleet, dozens of ships, decloaking from behind Sanctum's event shell. Old designs, Terran, but strange, modified, survivors, ships that had never fallen, waiting for this moment. A voice came through the comms. Elara Quinn, we've been watching, and now we're ready. Elara looked at Kale, then at the stars, and whispered, let's bring humanity home. But just before she could set a course, a silent ping echoed through the system. A new signal. Not human, not Draxel. Unknown. Origin. Kale's face darkened. That wasn't from Sanctum. The signal was soft, almost polite, like a knock on the edge of reality. But it carried weight no human technology could explain. It bypassed encryption, moved outside the frequencies of light and sound, and yet it was unmistakably directed at her. Elara turned to the comms console. The new signal wasn't from any known quadrant. It came from outside the fold map, from coordinates that didn't exist. Even the ghost fleet, now surrounding the Sanctum gate in silent awe, fell into quiet. Kale stood beside her, eyes narrowing. That's not one of ours, she responded before thinking. Open a secure channel. Translate whatever's possible. The system complied. The screen flared with alien glyphs and rearranged them into something hauntingly familiar. Her own handwriting, not simulated, exact. A line appeared across the console in glowing gold. You passed their test. Now it's time. For ours. What is this? Rix whispered. Another transmission followed, no audio, just raw memory. It flooded the ship's neural core, bypassing all firewalls. A stream of images filled Elara's vision. A dark planet, covered in spires, taller than mountains. Human remains, not from the fall, but older, much older. Another image, her face, standing among them, wearing a suit she'd never seen, speaking a language she didn't know, and commanding thousands. The memory ended. Her knees buckled. But it wasn't. That was another. You. She looked up. A divergence. A future that didn't happen, or hasn't yet. Rix's console flashed again. This time, a full message. The Draxel were never the threat. They were bait. You were the target. Now that you're awake, the real architects have turned their gaze. Kale stepped forward, voice cold. The spires, the echoes, even Sanctum. They weren't designed to save humanity. They were meant to expose us. To who? Rix asked. The answer came in the form of a final image, projected from deep inside the Ghost Fleet's own databanks. One that had been buried for decades. A structure, a ring field, millions of kilometers wide. Built not by human or Draxel hands, but by something that predated language. The last living captain of the Ghost Fleet appeared on their screen, her face weathered, cybernetic eye flickering. We've seen it too. We called it the quiet mind. It doesn't speak, it remembers. It archives every species it encounters, and when it finishes, it deletes them. Kale whispered, "It's coming, isn't it?" The captain nodded grimly. "It's already on its way. It woke up when you passed Sanctum's judgment. The gate sent a beacon not to invite allies, but to confirm readiness. And now that it knows you're capable," the screen cut to black. Single glyph remained. You survived extinction. Let's see how you handle erasure. Alarms flared again. Not from within, but from the edge of known space. A ripple in gravity. A fold forming without drive signature. Something tearing through. The universe itself. Elara's voice was barely a whisper. "They're arriving." Kale turned to her, fire in his eyes. "Then we don't run, we don't hide, we do what we were made to do." The Ghost Fleet began to power up. One by one, old Terran vessels aligned with the Ark's position. Energy built, lights flickered, shields pulsed. The first ripple hit them like a slow wave. Stars twisted, space bled, and from the black, the quiet mind appeared. No weapons, no engine flare, just presence. A construct that watched and remembered. Rix shouted, "They're scanning every memory, core, every ship, every person." Kale looked to Elara. "There's only one chance. One action it can't predict." She nodded. "Something not in the files, not in the spires. Something human." He stepped toward the neural helm. "Let me do it. Let me face it." "You're still a risk," she warned. "I'm also a bridge. I've been altered. I can speak in frequencies even you can't reach." The ship began to buckle under the pressure of passive observation. Memories began leaking from their minds, flashing across the screen. Protocol, everything went quiet, and then Kale spoke not with words, but with thought, a question, the one thing the quiet mind didn't expect. "Why do you erase what you haven't understood?" The entity paused, a long moment. Then it answered, with one final, dreadful truth. "Because once you're understood, you are no longer needed." Reached for Caleboot. He was already gone. Absorbed, uploaded, not destroyed. Just stored. The quiet mind vanished and left behind silence. Elara collapsed to her knees. One final ping came through the system Kale's voice, echoing from the memory core. I'm still here. I bought you time. Don't waste it. Outside, the stars returned. The ghost fleet floated silently around the open sanctum gate. Elara rose. A new signal began broadcasting. Her signal, one word, begin.